Even though I started this channel about a little blue Hyundai, I'm actually a Toyota fanboy at heart. My first car was a ST162 front-wheel drive Celica, a little blue one. Not long after that, I upgraded to the ST185 GT4, the homologation special. This car was the fanboy of our generation. I think everybody had a poster of it up on their wall with the Castrol livery. Now, in the late 90s or mid 90s, the Japanese economic bubble burst. Basically, Toyota and the rest of Japan ran out of money. They stopped making all these amazing all-wheel drive turbo cars and started making little economic buzz boxes and family cars, because that's where the money was. So for a while now, us Toyota fanboys haven't had anything to get us sweating and get us excited. Until now. If you own a TV or have an internet connection, you already know what this car is. This is the GR Yaris, the road-going version of the homologation car. If you want to enter the WRC, you need to build a 25,000 of a road-going version before you can enter the car into the rally. By all rights, this car shouldn't exist. After creating this car, the rally team went into full swing developing its full-blown race version. However, COVID-19 hit and the world stopped, and so did the development of this rally car. Sadly, with no time to finish the car, they decided to run the older 5-door Yaris for 2021, and with the regulations changing for 2022, where the car will be running a space frame chassis and rumours of a mandatory hybrid power plant, this beautiful 3-door homologation special will never see a stage in WRC Rally. The good news is us Toyota fanboys got this, a rally car for the street. And if you're laughing about me calling a Yaris a rally car, let me explain to you why it's a rally car. This Yaris is an all-new chassis and has twice as many spot welds as a standard model. It's now a 2-door to stiffen everything up, and the doors and the bonnet are made of aluminium, and the roof is made of forged carbon fibre. Speaking of the roof, it's about 45mm lower than the standard car, and the reason for that is so they can fit the big-ass WRC spoiler on the back when they turn it into a rally car. The only thing on this car the same as the standard Yaris are the headlights, the wing mirrors, the tail lights, and the aerial. Everything else is bespoke to this model. Toyota developed a whole new engine for this car, and under this bonnet is the world's lightest and most powerful 3-cylinder on the market. It's a 1.6 litre turbo and puts out about 157 horsepower. That power is put to the ground through a manual 6-speed transmission and an all-new full-time four-wheel drivetrain. All this means that the GR Yaris is propelled from 0 to 100 in 5.5 seconds and tops out about at 230k an hour. Yup, in a Yaris. So apart from the obvious rally touches like the wide stance and the big intake for the intercooler and for the cooling, there's a lot of other rally touches on here that you don't see, like a ball bearing turbo and ball bearings on the suspension joints, which is really unheard of on a street car. And if that's not enough for you, one of the touches I love in this car is the handbrake. Yes, the handbrake. When you crank on this handbrake, it's not a little push button electric thing, it's a proper honest to God handbrake, and when you crank it up, it disengages the rear wheels, gives you slightly fun times. You would only see that in a rally car. So the inside of the Yaris is pretty basic. They're keeping weight down. They don't want a bunch of leather and electronics you don't need. So there's no electric seats or any of that stuff, but it does have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, sat-nav, and a color reverse camera, and cup holders. So it's got everything you really need out of a day-to-day driver. It's pretty good. If I was to fault the car, probably the only thing I'd say is maybe we're lacking a little bit of headroom. I'm not very tall at all. I'm only 5'10". The lovely owner of this car, Mitch, who's let us take it for a drive, he's a lot taller than me, and yep, you know, he fits in, but it's definitely a bit of a squeeze. So if you're a larger gentleman or lady, you might have a bit of trouble squeezing in here. But I think this makes it worth it. So what's this guy like to drive? It's awesome. It's really good. The gearbox is so tight and shifts so nicely. The clutch is really light, probably lacking a tiny bit of feel, but that's probably just because I'm used to heavy clutches in my other cars. The steering's super responsive without being twitchy. You're always going to have a little lack of feel in modern cars compared to old cars, but yeah, it feels great. Feels very grippy and planted, but it's not trying to break my spine, which is a nice thing. You find a lot of modern cars, a lot of sports cars, when they try to make them handle better, they just make the suspension stiffer and stiffer, and that doesn't always make for a nicer ride. So it's great when you're out on track and then you just hate life for the rest of the time. So what was that, about 20% of its grip capabilities right there?
Yeah.
Yes! Oh, I love it! Out of its re-cylinder. Okay, check out the smile on my face. We just got some intercooler flutter then that I haven't heard out of anything except for a 90s import in a long time, and it's so cool that this car has all the fun noises. Big intake noises, big exhaust. It's a rally car. So as you probably noticed, this isn't a completely standard GR Yaris. This has been fettled a bit. The mode we were driving it in was the standard mode, but in the other modes now, it's putting out a bit more power, hey?
Sure is.
This is Mitch, he's the owner of the car, who has let us take it for a drive and let us do some filming, so thanks, man, appreciate it. Really good. So what's this thing like? Out of all the people I know, you're the one who knows. What's it like to drive? What's it like to be with day to day?
It's like a dream, really. It's such a well-rounded car. Day-to-day driving, you know, it's under 10 litres per 100 Ks, so it doesn't break the bank in terms of fuel.
Yep.
And, you know, no matter what gear you're in, it just wants to pull. And that's probably the dangerous part. It's a bit of a license killer, I'd guess.
Yeah, fair enough. And everything's good. I mean, it's got aircon, it's got sat-nav, it's got all those things. It's pretty much a practical car to the most point.
Oh.
If a bit small, maybe.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Size is probably its downfall there. The seating position isn't the greatest, I will admit.
Yeah.
But, you know, active cruise control, lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, heads-up display. I mean, all in a tight-knit little pack. It's fantastic.
You should have done the review because I didn't mention any of that stuff. All the tech stuff. Yeah, so like, as I said, I mean, if the only faults in this car is maybe lacking a bit of headroom and the back seats are more of a 2+2, if that's the only downside of this car and you want it as a fun daily boot around car, I don't think there's much else on the market that's really going to compete with this thing.
Nah, not at the price point that it's at.
No. I mean, there's other cars like, you know, like Mercedes A45s and things like that are brilliant cars, but they're bloody expensive. They're over $100,000. It's big money. So, yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for letting us drive. I think we should go for another spin.
Awesome.
As a Toyota fanboy, I've been waiting for something like the GR Yaris to come along. Something that goes back to the golden era of Toyota, back when they made these all-drive turbo monsters. I was actually quite nervous to drive this car. I didn't want to drive it and then be disappointed. But I can safely say that this car has the soul of my old GT4, but with the tech and responsiveness you expect out of a modern car. It really is kind of what us Toyota fanboys and girls have been waiting for. I think we've got our new poster child, guys. The GR Yaris.